Jamie Foxx, a flame forged in silence, his voice breathing Ray Charles's soul, his courage defying fate in Collateral, his fire breaking chains in Django Unchained. A titan of comedy, song, and screen, his name shines in Oscars and Grammys. From a forsaken boy in Terrell, Texas, to Hollywood's throne, he rose through scars. His 2023 stroke stealing 20 days of memory, yet not his will. At 57, new shadows fall, but his light endures. It is a cruel irony when a legend's dawn is written not in the warmth of love, but in a silence so heavy it could crush a young heart, a stillness louder than any lullaby, the absence of parents who turned away before their son could call their names. This was the beginning of Eric Marlon Bishop, the boy who would become Jamie Foxx. Born on December 13, 1967, in the sun-scorched simplicity of Terrell, Texas, a town where dreams stretched thin against endless horizons, his early days unfolded under the weight of unspoken goodbyes. His father, Darrell Bishop, later Shahid Abdullah, after embracing Islam, drifted into a realm beyond reach, his presence a fading echo in family tales. His mother, Louise Annette Talley Dixon, slipped from daily life, her warmth a memory too fleeting to hold. At 7 months, Eric was entrusted to his grandmother, Esther Marie Nelson Talley, a woman of iron faith and unrelenting discipline, who became his anchor, his storm, his everything. Her home was no palace, but a humble fortress of working-class resolve, where pennies danced with necessity, and the air carried the scent of collard greens and cornbread, woven with the sacred hum of Baptist hymns drifting through open windows. Wealth was a stranger, luxury a whisper from distant cities, indulgence a dream deferred. But in their place stood order, faith, and a discipline sharp as a blade. Esther, a nursery teacher who shaped young minds with a sculptor's precision, believed structure could lift a child above hardship's tide. Her love was fierce, her rules unyielding. She was my rock, my tempest, my guide, Jamie would later reflect, his voice thick with gratitude's ache. Discipline was her sermon, music her scripture. She taught me to play through pain, to find my voice in the keys. That discipline took root at the piano, a weathered upright in the living room's corner, its keys worn from years of devotion. While other boys chased fireflies or thundered across football fields, Eric sat on a creaking stool, his small fingers wrestling Bach's fugues and Beethoven's sonatas. The keys were his prison and his promise, heavy with expectation, yet alive with possibility. Hours blurred into eternities, wrists aching, notes stumbling like first steps on uneven ground. Music wasn't a pastime. It was salvation, a voice to fill the voids his parents left behind. Their absence scarred him deep, wounds no melody could fully mend. Birthdays passed like fading lanterns, glowing briefly without a mother's embrace. School recitals ended to polite claps, the front row empty where a father's pride should have sat. Football games closed with a hollow ache, bleachers holding space for ghosts. The boy who could spark laughter in the sternest hearts carried a solitude unseen. I told jokes to hide the hurt, he'd confess years later, eyes tracing distant wounds. Laughter was my armor, my way to keep the world from seeing the cracks. As the 1970s faded into his teenage years, America shifted, civil rights redrawing the nation's soul, igniting hope's embers. Yet in Terrell, paths for a black boy remained narrow, lined with unseen walls. Esther ensured he was fed, clothed, educated, but a deeper hunger gnawed, the absence of parental love, the void where bonds should have rooted. From this barren soil, a fire grew. Gospel hymns fueled his spirit. The piano taught precision. Esther's iron hand carved resilience into his bones. His humor, once a shield, became a key to stages beyond Texas. His childhood was paradox, stripped of love's foundation, yet gifted with tools of invincibility. Abandonment marked him, but it also forged him, a man bearing both the weight of loss and the blaze of dreams, ready to roar into the world. The spotlight promised radiance, but for Jamie Foxx, it first cast long, cruel shadows. Rejections that cut sharper than silence. Nights where the crowd's hush stung deeper than solitude. From his fractured youth, he carried a flame that refused to gutter. A hunger not just to survive, but to be seen. To etch his essence into the world's gaze. Music had been his refuge, the piano his chain and wings. But by the 1980s, his ambitions stretched beyond concert halls. At United States International University in San Diego, he immersed himself in classical composition, mastering theory's architecture. Yet beneath this discipline burned a wilder yearning. The electric pulse of a crowd, the alchemy of pain into performance. This craving led him to Los Angeles' smoky comedy clubs, arenas where ambition met apathy, and the beam could redeem or ruin. Stand-up was no gentle art. It was war, unknowns queued for hours, praying for a turn, only to face audiences as merciless as storms. Women often claimed the mic first, leaving men to wait, sometimes forever, dreams dissolving into the night. From necessity, Eric Marlon Bishop shed his name, birthing Jamie Foxx, a sly, fluid moniker that defied categorization. Jamie could be anyone, he'd later say, a glint in his eye. I needed every edge in that brutal game. It was more than a name, it was rebirth, a mask to wrestle rejection and chase the dream that haunted him. The grind was relentless. No mentors, no connections, just Jamie, armed with jokes forged from pain, timing honed by desperation. Some nights, laughter roared like thunder, shaking the room. Others, silence fell like a blade, slicing confidence to ribbons. That quiet could swallow you whole, he'd admit, voice heavy with memory. He learned to fight back, clawing from the void with wit and courage. Each failure became a scar, each scar a lesson. Esther's teachings, stand tall, practice till it hurts, give everything, became his stagecraft's spine. The boy who played Beethoven alone now wove survival's symphonies with punchlines. In those early Los Angeles nights, the comedy clubs were a battlefield of broken dreams and fleeting triumphs. The Laugh Factory, the Comedy Store, hallowed grounds where legends were born and unknowns buried. Jamie, barely 20, stood in lines that snaked around neon-lit corners, his heart pounding as he rehearsed lines in his head. The air was thick with cigarette smoke and desperation. The crowd a mix of drunks, dreamers, and hecklers waiting to pounce. 5 minutes on stage could feel like a lifetime, each joke a gamble between glory and oblivion. He learned fast. A punchline had to land like a boxer's jab, precise and unrelenting. He drew from Terrell's pain, mimicking the preacher's cadence, the schoolyard taunts, even the sting of his parents' absence, and turned it into laughter. I'd talk about being broke, about chasing dreams in a town that didn't care, he'd say, his voice a mix of pride and grit. That's when they listened. But not every night was kind. A heckler's slur could derail a set. A flat joke could turn a room cold. He'd walk off stage, hands shaking, and sit in his beat-up car, replaying every misstep. Yet he'd return the next night, and the next, driven by a fire Esther had ignited. Never stop, never break. He bled on stages long before red carpets. When Hollywood crowned him, the roar was deafening, but the silence that followed was heavier still. In 2004, Jamie Foxx became Ray Charles in Ray, vanishing into the role so completely that audiences forgot where man ended and legend began. His performance swept the Oscar, Golden Globe, and BAFTA. a trifecta marking him as a generational titan. That same year, Collateral earned another Oscar nod, a rare dual nomination that felt like myth. From Terrell's dusty streets to cinema's summit, he'd climb. But glory carried weight. The Oscar was a crown, yes, but also a chain. Every script posed the question, could he surpass Ray? He recalls the post-Oscar solitude, the statuette cold in his hands, Los Angeles glittering outside while silence pressed within. It was blessing and burden, he'd confess, voice tinged with shadow. The world saw his smile, not the doubt that gnawed when lights dimmed. Then came Stealth, a $135 million action gamble that limped to $79 million, bleeding $56 million. Jamie's face was on the posters. Whispers turned venomous. Was Ray a fluke? Had he peaked? The sting wasn't critics' words, but their echo in his mind. For a man who'd fought to transcend comedy, the fear of being a punchline again was unbearable. Bates' earlier $15 million flop from a $51 million budget had already scarred him, executives doubting his lead. Stealth felt like history's cruel encore. The night of the 2005 Oscars, Jamie stood on the Dolby Theater stage. The weight of the statuette in his hands matched only by the weight of expectation. He'd spent months becoming Ray Charles, studying his tics, his cadence, even the way he swayed at the piano. He'd played until his fingers bled, sung until his voice cracked, lived in the dark to understand a blind man's world. The applause was thunderous, but as he left the stage, a quiet fear crept in. What now? The world saw a victor. He saw a man who'd have to climb again, and who'd have to climb again, and who'd have to... Stealth was meant to be his next summit, a high-octane blockbuster to prove he could carry a film. But the script was weak, the direction muddled, and audiences stayed away. In Hollywood's boardrooms, whispers grew, he's a character actor, not a leading man. Jamie felt the sting in every meeting, every polite rejection. He'd sit in his trailer, replaying Esther's words, practice till it hurts. So he did. He took smaller roles, honed his craft in Miami Vice and The Kingdom, proving his range. By 2006, Dreamgirls showed he could steal scenes alongside giants like Beyoncé and Eddie Murphy. His rendition of When I First Saw You, a quiet triumph. The failures taught him resilience, but they also deepened his solitude. Late nights in his Los Angeles apartment, he'd play the piano, not for crowds, but for himself. Notes filling the spaces fame couldn't. You're never done proving yourself, he'd say. A truth carved from Hollywood's unforgiving math. Each role became a battle to reclaim his place, to silence the doubters. When Django Unchained arrived in 2012, his portrayal of a freed slave turned avenger was a firestorm. Raw, defiant, unforgettable. It was proof that his crown wasn't a fluke, but a symbol of a man who thrived under pressure, turning every chain into fuel for his fire. Before Hollywood's heights, life tested Jamie with love that promised forever, only to dissolve into silence. In the early 1990s, before fame's roar, he found Connie Klein, a quiet warmth offering the home he'd never known. Their bond was tender. Laughter in small rooms, whispered dreams, the hope of family. In 1994, their daughter Corinne arrived, her cry a cinematic moment in a dim delivery room. Jamie's hands trembled as he held her, vowing, "I'll never leave you as I was left." Corinne saved me, he'd say, her birth giving purpose to his fight. But ambition's grind frayed their bond. Long nights on stage, endless auditions, conversations turned to silence, laughter to distance. No scandal, just time's slow erosion. The heartbreak cut deeper than any review. I feared marriage, he'd admit, haunted by his parents' absence, lest my kids bear its collapse. Connie raised Corinne in privacy, but Jamie stayed constant. Birthdays, recitals, quiet moments. Corinne, Now a star beside him on Beach Shazam calls him her protector, their bond a testament to persistence over perfection. In 2008, Kristen Grannis offered another chance, a refuge from fame's chaos. Their daughter Annalise's birth was another vow. You'll never know my loneliness. For a time, peace seemed possible, but fear of marriage, of recreating his childhood's wounds, cracked their foundation. Silence grew where warmth once lived. Kristen faded, but Jamie remained, cheering at Annalise's games, playing piano as she sang. Dad was always there, Annalise says, her words proof that fatherhood endured where romance faltered. Twice love slipped away, twice a home dissolved, but twice Jamie stayed, breaking the cycle of abandonment. His greatness lies not in perfect families, but in the devotion that outlasts heartbreak. Love concealed for 6 years, unveiled in splendor, only to shatter in the spotlight's glare. This was Jamie Foxx and Katie Holmes. Their story began in 2013, after Holmes' marriage to Tom Cruise ended. Jamie, at his career's peak, found her in the quiet spaces between premieres. They moved in secret. Hidden dinners, stolen glances in New York's shadows. Holmes watched his performances from darkened rows, her smile a private beacon. To the world, they were rumor. To each other, sanctuary. For 6 years, they stitched love in fragments, hoping secrecy would shield it. A diamond ring on Holmes' finger in 2016 sparked engagement whispers, fans dreaming of a shadowed love stepping into light. May 2019's Met Gala was that moment. Holmes in lavender, Jamie's shoes matching her gown, a silent vow. We are one. Flashbulbs erupted. The world cheered, their love no longer rumor, but royalty. Yet, their eyes held shadows. Holmes's grip tight, Jamie's grin weary. Triumph was fragile, a crystal moment poised to break. By August 2019, it shattered. Their lifestyles diverged. Holmes craved stability. Jamie thrived in fame's whirlwind. Rumors of others eroded trust. The press turned love into spectacle. It was too much, Holmes confided, exhausted by scrutiny. For Jamie, the loss was a deeper wound than any flop. A chance at permanence gone. Images linger. Their Met Gala joy. Then Holmes alone, her face weary. Their story was Jamie's boldest love, his most public, his most devastating. Fame buys applause, not love's endurance. Their fall teaches that even the brightest flames can burn out, leaving ashes and a haunting truth. Love demands resilience beyond secrecy or spectacle. Fate's cruelest blow came not from love's collapse, but from the body's betrayal. In April 2023, on the set of Back in Action, Jamie collapsed, a brain hemorrhage spiraling into a stroke. One moment he grinned at his crew, the next he was lifeless, rushed through hospital doors. His family, Corinne, Annalise, his sister Deidre, kept vigil, praying as machines sighed. 20 days vanished from his memory, rumors of blindness and paralysis spreading. I saw the tunnel, but I wasn't ready, he'd later say, voice cracked. Trapped in silence, unable to move or speak, he faced oblivion. Love pulled him back. Corinne held his hand, Annalise sang softly, Deidre's prayers a steady pulse. Slowly, he returned, not whole, but alive. His first steps were battles, each note on the piano a miracle. Alice Huckstep appeared then, her steady presence a light in the storm. Their quiet walks, her arm in his, felt like healing. Fans saw destiny, love after ruin. But by January 2025, their paths diverged. Alice sought quiet. Jamie, the stage's fire. I survived death, but not love, he'd confess, the words a knife. The stroke stole memory, the breakup peace. Yet Jamie endures, scarred, slower, but standing. His survival a quiet defiance of fate's cruelty. Grief struck when wounds were raw. In October 2020, Jamie's sister, Deandra Dixon, born with Down syndrome, died at 36. Her joy, dancing on red carpets, storming stages with him, was his compass. "My heart shattered," he wrote, her funeral a tableau of loss. In 2023, as he fought back from his stroke, his friend Keith Jefferson lost his cancer battle. "We laughed till it hurt," Jamie mourned, his tribute breaking mid-sentence. These losses atop his own brush with death, carved deep. Fame's light casts long shadows. In 2003, a New Orleans casino dispute spiraled. Security clashed, police cameras flashed. A suspended sentence, fines, but headlines screamed louder. "One mistake can eclipse 1,000 songs," Jamie mused. In 2024, a Beverly Hills scuffle left a cut lip and rumors of violence. Police confirmed no weapons, no arrests, but speculation lingered. These weren't defining scars, but reminders of fame's double edge. Jamie moved forward, letting art outshine gossip, his restraint a quiet strength. Greatness, he shows, is not perfection, but courage to rise unashamed. Today, Jamie Foxx resides in Hidden Valley, California, a sanctuary from Hollywood's din. His estate, with wide windows and a studio where piano notes hum, is a haven of memory and recovery. His net worth, in the hundreds of millions, spans music royalties, film shares, and real estate. Yet he counts wealth in mornings, not millions. "Waking to sunlight, that's riches," he says. His daughters, Corinne and Annalise, are his anchors, their laughter filling his home. After Alice, he chooses privacy, his devotion to family and health unwavering. Professionally, he shines, hosting Beat Shazam with Corinne, starring in Back in Action and Tin Soldier. His 2024 Netflix special What Had Happened was turned scars into story. Health remains fragile. Therapy is ritual, his steps deliberate. Walking Corinne down the aisle in 2024 was victory, their dance a resurrection. His philanthropy, supporting Down syndrome and cancer causes, honors Deandra and Keith. Shadows linger. The lost 20 days. Health's fragility. But Jamie weaves them into his art. His life a testament to rising. Scarred but unbroken. Jamie Foxx's story is no fairy tale, but a saga of scars and stars. From Terrell's silence to Hollywood's roar, he's faced abandonment, rejection, failure, heartbreak, loss, and death's shadow. Yet each blow forged him stronger. His laughter carries tremors, his stride slows, but his spirit burns. Greatness, he teaches, is not trophies or applause, but the quiet defiance of rising again. His daughters, his music, his causes carry his light forward. Proof that even the deepest wounds can birth enduring fire. Jamie Foxx stands, a man who turned silence into song, pain into purpose, and survival into a legacy that whispers, "Keep standing, keep shining, keep loving." Subscribe to join this journey. Share Jamie's story, honor his fight, and let his resilience inspire. Click below to stay with us, to keep the flame alive, the flame alive, the flame